Sync. So we go and check. Right, we're breaking up the light gun. We need the light gun. Ooh. Right, so I've got my light gun. Need a handheld. Timmy, bring a handheld with you. We need a handheld. Something. Hello everybody, Ben here from pixelportable. I hope you're well. As a collector of handheld gaming and retro gaming in general, one thing that does stick with me is the world is a chaotic place. And be it wars, natural disasters, riots, there are many scenarios and situations that will have you leaving your house in a hurry, grabbing a grab bag and getting out of there. And, well, what do you do if you're a handheld gamer? What's the right choice? You know, like, what's the right handheld for a disaster? So this got me thinking. I have quite a few handhelds, and I wanted to just go through and sort of go through my thinking behind how usable and viable each handheld would be in a disaster scenario.
Pixel.
I could make a whole other video on bags alone. I still use the bag that I recommended a year or so ago, maybe even 2 years now. Link is going to be right here, up here. And it's this Mark Rider bag. I'm going to put it on the main camera so you can see it. It's Mark Rider bag with all the different components. Still has my Game Boy, my Game Boy keyring on it. I have since then upgraded to another bag which specifically holds my Steamdeck. And since an upgraded bag, has an upgraded keyring, and that's Super Nintendo. We could do a whole other video on bags. You know, I'm a big fan of collecting bags, be them silly Zara bag, like the Zara bags, like the Game Boy bag here, Sega Saturn bag, bum bag, which I really love, the Zara Dreamcast bag, which is my most recent addition to the bag front. But we're not here to talk about bags. But you know me, if I get an opportunity to go off on a bag tangent, I will. What would be the best thing to grab in an emergency situation where you have to run out quickly? You know, maybe your house is on fire, or there's an earthquake or something, and you have a grab bag set up for when you need to leave in a hurry, which many people in the world have to do. The obvious bad choice is the original Game Boy. Now, it's a bad choice for the same reasons that I rated it a bad console when we were doing the rating video. But it's basically a bad screen, terrible battery life, requires 4 AA batteries, and then you've got your 1 cartridge slot. Now, when it comes to the cartridges, that's going to be a big influencer on what you pick. If you are already in possession of, like I am, various types of EverDrives, this is like an EverDrive for the Gameboy Colour, so I can put my ROMs on here, and I have multiple games in one disc. Or I've got the similar thing here with the R4 Gold for the DSi. And I have a Game Boy Advance one here. This one's really terrible. Don't buy this one. Very cheap on AliExpress. But it does do what it says on the tin. If you've got these sort of things, it obviously makes decisions significantly easier. Like, unless you've got bag space to carry a few key games. But I'm not actually going to go on to games because that's its own kettle of fish to cook. But yeah, the original Game Boy, terrible choice. There's so many reasons why this is bad. Bad screen for your luggage space. You know, this takes up a lot of space. It uses up a lot of AA batteries. And if you're on the go, it's going to be really hard to charge AA batteries. Even if you've got rechargeable ones, or if you know, unless you're going to carry a ton of AA batteries on you, this would be a terrible pick. Yeah, unless it was sentimental, then obviously that's a different thing altogether. Moving up to the Game Boy Color, this has a similar problem, right? But this has got some rechargeable batteries in. But if you had a USB-C mod in this, it would be better, but still not a very good screen. Durability is decent though. That's a factor, right? Durability, size, ease to charge, but also something you might not have thought about. I used to live near the beach, so how easy is it for dirt or sand to get into this? there's a few vectors in which it can get in, but the biggest of all, obviously, is going to be the cartridge slot, which you can argue is ideally filled with your game, so that's not so bad. So this isn't a terrible choice, but it's not a great choice. Now we're getting somewhere a bit more useful with the Gameboy Advance SP. You know, once we assume we've got our thing in, doesn't take up a lot of space. It has a rechargeable battery, so that's really good. That's a really good bonus. And it has a clamshell screen. Screen's protected. Stuff can still get between there, but you can easily get this in a little sandwich bag or something, carry it around. So this would be a great choice, except there is a problem. And that problem is that it requires a proprietary cable in order to be recharged. Now, those cables are dirt cheap, and you could buy a bunch of them. But here's the thing, what happens if you lose one of those cables, or just your bag of cables? It's going to be really hard to find a replacement to get this charged again. So for that reason, I'd say that while this is really good, it could still be better. Anything with a proprietary charger, no matter how good it is, let's take the 2DS. You know, again, has its own AC adapter. Not common to find. This is a great unit, very robust, really sturdy. Really bad for getting dust under the top screen, but you know, that's neither here nor there. And a good shape too. It fits in a lot of places. But I've got something really obscure here. So you might think, well, the little emulation handhelds are pretty good. And they are. I don't have many of them anymore, even though this channel was birthed by them. But I do still have my Odroid Go Advance. And that uses a barrel pin charger. Very specific size barrel pin charger. So that's almost no use whatsoever. And then I have the Miyoo Mini. Now the Miyoo Mini does have USB-C charging, and this is ideally what you want in your bug-out unit, because USB-C charging is now kind of the standard. It's very easy to find USB-C chargers. If you're out in a disaster area and someone's charging their phone, or even sometimes laptops, they can be charged by USB-C if they've got the Thunderbolt port. So a lot of people have USB-C. So this is a great version to have of a charging part to have with you. So you either have loads and loads of AA batteries, which is not wise, or you have a USB-C charger. But this is my Miyoo Mini, trusty Miyoo Mini, been around the world with this. This would be a really good choice. Again, it's an emulation thing. It has lots of ways for sand and dirt to get in it, which is a shame. And the build quality isn't fantastic, but it is small. So this might be a really good one to take in a hurry. Here's an absolutely awful thing to take that has USB-C charging, the Steamdeck. It's obnoxiously big, really not that sturdy, you know, for an emergency. Unless you know you're going somewhere safe. But if you're having to go anywhere not safe or dangerous, this is a terrible choice to bring with you. Battery life isn't spectacular. Does have USB-C charging, which is good, and it can connect to the internet, so it's like having a portable laptop. But your phone can do that, right? And your phone is more durable, and your phone has a better battery life. So I would say Steamdeck is a bad choice. We're going to get onto one of my favorites here. It's the Gameboy, the 2DS XL. The 2DS XL, I love it as a console, and when it's hacked, it's really good. It's decent build quality. It hasn't got too many areas in which sand and dirt can come in. Downside is the proprietary charging port. If you USB-C mod this would be a fantastic choice. But a hinge is never good for anything where you're like in dirt or sand. If that gets in there, it wears its way in and messes everything up. If you are going to use a 2DS, or maybe it's just all you have, just fair enough, they're a bit flimsy. So I strongly suggest doing what I've done to this one and buying a hard case clip-on bottom and top. That makes it significantly more sturdy and robust. And I think like that little add-on, it's all you need to give the extra protection I think this handheld needs, because it's not, you know, it's not the best as far as like build quality goes. The Gameboy Micro. The Gameboy Micro is fantastic. It's really good for battery life. It's a really good size. Unless you've got massive hands, then it's probably terrible. It does have a backlight, right? So it's going to be good in low light and in the dark. But the problem is, once again, it has its own weird proprietary charging port. And if this was a USB-C port, and you had some sort of flash drive, I think this is probably the best in an emergency. I have no idea how hard it is to USB-C mod a Gameboy Micro, but it might be something that I look into now that I think about it, because that would be a perfect bug out item. Now, these devices are really, really bad for displaying lots of text because of the resolution. So you don't want any sort of super text-heavy games. Would be unpleasant. But yeah, if you just had this, if I just had Yu-Gi-Oh! Worldwide Edition and my Game Boy Micro and a USB-C port, this would probably be enough for me in most disastrous situations to find some light entertainment, because I can play that game for hours on end, and get enjoyment out of it. So that's probably another thing to consider. Like, what's the one game you'd want if you were stuck for a weekend and you could only play one game constantly? What would that game be? Let me know in the comments below. I'd like to know, actually. It'd be cool to get a list of like your apocalypse games. Another absolutely terrible choice would be the PSP, original PSP. The reason this would be an absolutely terrible choice is just because of all the moving parts in here. You got your UMD drive here, right? You get any dirt or sand in that, and that whole thing is just gonna absolutely fall apart. The UMD disk drives are prone to misaligning. The lasers can die, unless you've hacked it and you've got a memory card in there of all the games you want. It's not a great choice, but it is very robust. I will say that. They're very durable units. So there are worse choices. A better choice would be the PSP Vita, if you had to pick between the two. A lot less points in which dirt and stuff can get in. Very good console, but annoyingly has its own bloody proprietary charging again. If this was USB-C, it would change everything. Same problem with the DSi XL. Okay, I love the DSi XL. It's one of my favorite handheld consoles. But again, stupid proprietary charger. I think if I was in a hurry and I had to grab something, it'd be really, really hard for me not to grab my Pokemon Center Game Boy Advance, my Crystal Game Boy Advance that I got in Japan. It's in a really, really pristine condition. And I would grab this just because I'd want to preserve a piece of gaming history. I could lose all the other handhelds. There's plenty of those about in circulation. There's plenty of Steamdecks and DSi XLs and 2DSs, micros, even PSPs and Vitas. But there's not many 2006, I think it is, or 2001 Game Boy Advance, Crystal Game Boy Advances. Yeah, I maybe go for that. Switch! Hey, look, Switch is USB-C. Switch is quite durable, and it is hackable, and you can get those new MIG cards to go in. So it's not a terrible choice, but the battery life on these isn't very good. But again, you want to get some sort of protection cover for it if you do, just to give it a little bit of an extra chance of survival. Obviously, for all the consoles, there's going to be, different types of bags and things that you can use to put. I even still have a factory sealed Game Boy Color console holder. But yeah, there's millions of different types of ways to protect your item. This has got dusty, but this is a PSP's case. Game Boy Advance SP little bag, which has the storage and stuff. Now, if you have one of these and you've got space in your bug out bag, it's a good way of protecting everything, obviously. And then you can get these smaller ones. You can have this on your belt. You can feed your belt through here. And then on your belt, you've got your Game Boy Advance SP. You've even got a slot for a couple of games in there. Those are pretty cool. This is the 2DS XL case. I've got my little stylus pen in there. It sits in that. It's very, very, very plush, very premium. And then I've got these hard cases. I've got this Joytech one here. This is again for Game Boy Advance SP, and it holds 2 games. Very, very solid, very sturdy, good case. And then this is a 3DS XL Monster Hunter XX case. Put everything in a case, or at the very least in a sandwich bag, a Ziploc sandwich bag, to keep it waterproof. In fact, out of my collection, I only have 3 USB-C units. I have my Miyoo Mini, USB-C. I have my Game Boy Advance, the pixel portable custom-made Game Boy Advance with the USB-C and battery and everything. And I have a Steamdeck. If I had to pick out of these 3, I think I'd probably pick the Miyoo Mini. Just because it holds so many titles, all up to PS1. It's reliable, it's cheap. You know, if I broke out in the field, I wouldn't be upset. My saves would still all be on the memory card that I could just take out. Yeah, this would probably be my choice for like a bugging out. But I haven't got any of these like new emulation units. I haven't got any of these new emulation units in a while. I mean, like I say, the channel originally started from me having a Odroid Go Advance, which I loved, and this is what helped spur me back into the retro game scene a few years ago. And then eventually I made the Miyoo Mini when I was in Thailand, back when the first wave of emulation handheld started to hit the market. This one still works fine. I still love it. It's got some dead pixels, but I don't care.
Pixel.
If I had to pick something that didn't have USB-C charging, which is all the other handhelds, there's only really 2 options in my mind, and that is the DSi XL and the Gameboy Micro. Now, my reasoning is the Micro is the best for form factor, right? It's the smallest of all the devices. And if I had a good EverDrive card in here, I mean, either way, I'm going to have to use a proprietary charging port, right? I can buy either of them as USBs on AliExpress or Amazon for dirt cheap, buy a set of 10 or 20. Put them all around your bag in different places. Yeah, I would pick between these 2. Now, my reasoning is, obviously there's some great Game Boy Advance games on the Micro, but the Micro is really not simple for anyone to just get hold of. There's not tons in circulation, and they are quite pricey, and they do only play Game Boy Advance games. Whereas, DSi XLs are still quite cheap. I got this one in December for £40, and I love it a lot. They're super easy to jailbreak and hack. And then you've got your SD card slot here. SD cards have never been cheaper. So you have an access to a huge amount of games, big screens, good battery life. Nice form factor too. Like, this is thinner than a 2DS XL. We just get them side by side so you can see. Well, they're about the same actually. They're about the same actually. Maybe the 2DS is actually slightly thinner unless you put the hard case on it. But this is automatically out of the box quite durable, and its shape slots anywhere in most bags. You can still play your DS games. You could still even chuck an R4 in there if you really wanted to. I mean, I have something like this would be a perfect game in Apocalypse. 42 games in one. Just has things like chess and backgammon and, you know, yacht dice and stuff. All the sort of things that you can get on the 52 in one on the Switch. And this game is as cheap as like £1, £2. And in Apocalypse, you just need to keep your brain occupied, right? Well, not necessarily Apocalypse, but in a disaster. So yeah, I guess my choice would actually be the DSi XL for the reasons I stated. Good battery life, plays a huge range of games, easy to jailbreak and hack, cheap to buy. The only downside is that it has a proprietary charge cable, but you can buy loads of those on AliExpress or on Amazon for really cheap. The only other thing that you're going to need, but this goes without saying, right? In your bug out bag or whatever kind of bag you're going to be using to survive that said event, you're going to want some sort of rechargeable battery. If that rechargeable battery is recharged via USB-C, all the more reason to have a USB-C device, right? Because you should have one cable charge everything. But you get my point. My point is, in an apocalypse or in some sort of disastrous event, I would have picked my PSP Vita because I think it's a fantastic console. But it's the wrong choice. Not as many games. Because I got this case on, it's really hard to pack, but I love this case because it's really comfortable. Really hard to pack, proprietary charging, you know, and lots of points of failure. Like, these little sticks can get knocked on things, like in a bag, or knocked, or dirt can go under them. That's not happening with this, you know. This is just the pinnacle of simplistic, sturdy handheld design. So I guess I want to know what you think. Right, so you know my choice is the DSi XL for an apocalypse. What's your choice? Do you agree with me? Do you think that I'm stupid? Do you think that I have no idea, I've lost touch with reality, and it's too hot in the UK right now, and maybe I'm just having some sort of heat-induced hysteria? That's totally possible. But I think that the DSi XL, the best handheld to have in your bug out bag for an emergency, even better than a Gameboy Micro. I'll die on that hill. Let me know. Do you think there's something that's as good? Bear in mind, this is cheap, durable, huge game library, good battery life, 2 screens, so I get to play Game Boy, Gameboy Colour, Gameboy Advance. But you can play quite a few other consoles on here as well. So like when this is jailbreak, you can play quite a lot. DSi XL. Do you agree with me? It's the best handheld in a disaster. Let me know in the comments below. Let me know if you've got any suggestions for like disaster bag items or anything that I might not have thought about. I'd love to hear your opinions. Thank you very much for watching and have a great day. Bye.